Hey besties, Monica Ferguson here and welcome to World Domination. This is a safe space for absolute legends who are bold enough and brave enough to go within, to recreate their belief system, to aim high, to chase their wildest dreams and become everything that they are destined to be. This is a space for people who are serious about growth, about healing. We talk about all things mind, body, spirit, and we have the courage to go further than most people even dare to dream. Welcome, let's get into it. Hello, besties. Monica Ferguson here. Welcome to this week's episode of World Domination. And this was actually a request from one of my favorite listeners. And I love how this process comes about. So usually these episodes are inspired by, as a conversation I've had with someone or something that's actually happened in real life, or like I'll be in the shower or in the car. I don't know why, but this is where my ideas drop in always. And I'll suddenly be given the name of the episode or the theme. And last night I was just drawing blanks and I had no idea. So I texted this person. I was like, do you have any ideas for this episode? And he gave me this topic, which is about believing in yourself. And I was like, you know what? I actually love this topic so much. So this is dedicated to him, this episode. And honestly, I have such a thing about even the language with these words, because I remember when I started out on my journey and my, personal development journey, and I started taking, big leaps and big risks and making big moves. And it was terrifying, right? And I remember being told by a coach, just believe in yourself. And I was like, yeah, but I don't. So that's not really that easy, is it? There's a lot of people saying these kind of catchphrases, but how? How do you believe in yourself when you don't? How do you overcome all of that fear and that doubt and the unworthiness and stuff? And this is what we're going to cover today. And there are so many other episodes that I have that go into those sorts of topics. So today I'm going to focus on the 5 things that I feel like have taken me from, people pleaser, doormat, depressed, unworthy, feeling so unlovable and not good enough, to running my business, having a global podcast, actually living in this space of deep self-love and having beautiful relationships and amazing stuff, because it's 1,000% possible. And of course it all starts with our internal world. As within, so without. Our external world is that mirror for us, that reflection of what we actually believe within ourselves at the deepest level. Okay, so let's crack into it. My first point, and I think this is the foundational thing, okay, and then we're going to go deeper from here. But I want us to start with this. Listening to our hearts, not our minds. So when we really tune into ourselves, what does your heart or your gut say about you, about who you are, about what you're here for? Because I don't know about you guys, but I'm anticipating this is true for you as well. My entire life, I knew that I was here for more. Since I was a little kid, I knew that I was here for something big, bigger than me, that I was here to bring about, light on the planet. My name literally means to counsel and to advise. That's what Monica means. So it's built into my name even, right? And these are just things that I always gravitated towards. There are videos of me as a little kid, at 4 years old at birthday parties, giving my toys to other kids. So it was just who I was. I was always someone that wanted to help other people. And so this was one of the things that really helped me to get going and to actually start moving on these ideas and these goals and these things that I wanted, was that there was a part of me that knew that I was here for more. So even though I had all of this self-hatred and all this depression and all this fear, and I felt unlovable, I felt unworthy, I felt like an imposter, like who's going to care about what I think or what I have to say? Even though I felt like that, there was a part of me when I tuned into my heart, my soul, I knew that that wasn't really who I was. I knew that I was here for more. And I really encourage all of you guys to do the same, right? Because your head is not, your mind is only going to reflect back to you your past thoughts, right? But your heart, your soul, your spirit, that's going to connect you to the truth of who you actually are. And learning to overcome this internal chatter that we have, which is simply reflecting back to us our dominant thinking, right? It's not like it's not truth, it's neutral. It's just a program. And so when we can stop giving our power to the mind and the negativity and the fear that our mind might be, spewing up on repeat, for lack of a better word, and actually start tuning into the truth, the knowing of who we are, it gives us a much stronger platform and foundation. So I encourage you to pause this right now and actually reflect on this. Even go into meditation, sit with yourself for 5 or 10 minutes and ask yourself, speak to your heart, speak to your gut, if I wasn't letting my mind get in the way, who am I actually? Who do I truly know myself to be? What am I put on this planet for? And then trust what comes up. Now, if your mind is like, you're nothing, you're no one, that's your mind. That's not your spirit. That's not your gut. So challenge that. But then trust whatever comes up, no matter how random it may seem, no matter how vague it may seem. Just allow yourself to explore this. And, the more questions and the more digging, the gold is underneath that. So that's my first thing. Okay, so when we're coming into this conversation with this feeling and this knowing that we are here for more, because of course you are. Firstly, like attracts like. And the fact that you're listening to a podcast called World Domination right now that is created for heart-led leaders who are making big moves and who have a big purpose on this planet, that's the energy behind this podcast. So the fact that you attracted this into your circumstance right now, into your life right now, means that this is for you. There are no accidents. This is all synchronicity. So even if your mind says, no, I'm nothing, I'm not good enough, I'm just little old me, I'm not special, well, I disagree. Because actually you attracted this, which means that's not true. So this is a big one, right? Because honestly, learning to overcome that voice in our head and take charge of it is what is going to turn all of this around. Okay, so let's move with that understanding. Let's move into point 2. And you guys know that I always speak about self-compassion, right? We do not do shame and judgment and beating ourselves up. We don't do that. We've been doing that for our whole lives and it doesn't work. Okay, so now that you've identified, like, ooh, actually I am special, I actually have this calling, there are these things that I feel like I'm here to do. Without any judgment right now, and with all the self-compassion in the world, I actually think this would be a really great thing for you guys to journal on. Actually write it down, okay? Here's a question for you. What do you actually believe about yourself right now? So when you think about, the stories that you tell yourself, the beliefs that you have, listen to some of the language that I've already used, because I've been giving you guys an insight into how I used to think and how I used to speak to myself. And it's what everyone says, right? Every single client that comes to me, so many of us have been given the same programming, and society gives it to us as well, right? We are taught that we're not good enough. We're taught that we're not worthy. We're taught all these things, that we have to please everyone else. And for so many of us that had toxic upbringings, we learned that we had to earn love, that we weren't just able to receive it as we are. that we have to be better. So we're in this energy of always trying to prove and achieve instead of remembering that we were literally chosen and created by God. You know, we can't lose that and we can't earn it. We just are loved whether we accept it or not. Yeah. So what do we actually believe about ourselves? This is a game changer because when we have self-awareness, we have power. All right. Now remember, you guys, 95% of our mind is unconscious. But that's where the power is. So our belief system is just running in the background like a program, like a software operating system. It's just whirring away in the background, dictating everything, dictating the choices we make, the habits we have, the people we allow in our lives, the stories that we tell ourselves, how high or low we aim. It's all coming from our subconscious belief system. Okay, and remember, that is just a program. That is not true. It is neutral. So what we get to do is become aware of the current program and then upgrade it. But if we're too afraid to ever look at what's there because we feel shame or we feel self-judgment or we feel like a failure and we avoid looking at what's there, that program is going to continue to run our lives forever. And that's why I say, come at this with self-compassion. And you know why? Because you didn't put the program there. It's not even your program. It's not even your belief system. The subconscious mind is formed from the years 0 to 7. And this is where we take the shame off and we take off the judgment and we put in the self-compassion and understand how the mind works, right? Because literally your parents taught you your model of the world. And most of our parents were wounded and most of them were living in fear. And they taught us a bunch of stuff that is not useful. And so because then we had that belief, we created that experience. And then we had more evidence. So we just repeat it until we have the courage to sit with the present and go, okay, how do I actually feel? Because this is deep stuff. I'm not going to sit here and be like, you guys just tell yourselves that you believe in yourselves when you don't. No, we're here for real transformation. Not fake. We're not putting a Band-Aid on a bullet hole, right? We're not doing that. This is how we actually overhaul our entire life. Because remember, everything that's showing up in our external world is a reflection of our internal world. That's everything. That's money, love, health, friendship, all of it. When we can get into this space of deeply loving, honoring, respecting, and believing in ourselves, your entire life will change. Not just in one area, in every area. Your entire world will become like a completely new space, right? So I don't want to minimize this work and the importance of this work. And this is something that should take you guys a little while if you're really reflecting deeply. And this is stuff that I help my clients with too, okay? So reach out if you want some one-on-one support with this. But what do you actually believe about yourself right now? So think about that. What do you believe about your lovability, your body, your money, your results, your worthiness, your calling, your purpose? All of these things, when you actually sit and reflect and ask, tune into yourself and the relationship that you have with yourself, what do you truly feel about yourself right now? What are the words that come up? And just allow it to be there. Allow yourself to feel the feelings. No shame, no judgment. Just radical honesty. And this can be a really confronting and emotional process. And so I just want you to know that I'm here with you. Okay? But also know that your courage to simply sit and be with what's truly there is literally what's going to change your life. I have been here, and I'm telling you, I've been here a million times actually. Every single time, something happens in my life, I'll always go within and be like, what is this reflecting back to me? What's going on within me that has led to this happening. And that is where our power is, because we're not running from ourselves, right? We're not hiding, we're not avoiding, we're facing what is, which means we have the power to change it. Okay, so that's the second part of that. So now that you've become clear of what's actually going on, the feelings, the beliefs, the stories, we're going to dig a little bit deeper and ask ourselves why. Why do you believe those things? Where did they come from? And again, I'm not going to gloss over this, you guys. This is literally life-changing. When I did this, well, I mean, I've done it a million times, but when I first started, I uncovered so many stories that were not mine, right? They were projections from my parents, especially, from other people. And so when I was like, oh, that belief came from so-and-so, that wasn't even mine, and it's not even true. But because it was in my unconscious, and I hadn't made it conscious until now, it was running my life. These beliefs and these stories that I don't even believe to be true. So that awareness, man, it's powerful, right? It is so powerful. So honestly, this is the greatest act of self-love you guys could ever do for yourselves. So sit with it. Figure it out. Where does it come from? Why do you believe that? Okay, because once you've become aware, then you can actually start choosing. Right, so number 3, let's move on. Number 3 is self-forgiveness. You can see how this flows on, right? Once you've unearthed all this stuff and you've become aware of it, man, you can then forgive yourself. Because why wouldn't you? Right? Like, this is why I'm so obsessed with the subconscious mind. Well, one of the many reasons, but when we understand that it's just a program and that the subconscious mind has a very specific purpose, right? And that's to keep us alive. It's not to make us happy, it's to keep us alive. And so if we were raised in environments, like where you were taught that you weren't lovable, where you were made to feel like a burden, it's not your fault that that story has carried with you into your adult years, right? It's not. It's your responsibility now to change it, though, now that you have the awareness of it, so that you can get a new result. But it's not your fault. So the experiences that you've had, the relationships you may have been in, or the choices that you've made that were in alignment with that belief, like maybe you missed out on certain opportunities because you didn't believe in yourself, because you felt like a burden, because you didn't feel good enough. Like, you don't have to punish yourself and beat yourself up about these things for the rest of your life, right? Because it didn't even come from you in the first place. So why would you continue to suffer and beat yourself up for stuff that wasn't even your fault in the first place? Honestly, self-forgiveness is so powerful. And when we can pair these two, right? So we understand that the mind wants to keep us in our comfort zone. The subconscious mind cares more about your safety than your happiness. So if you've carried a belief your entire life that you're a burden, you're unworthy or whatever, your mind actually feels safer for you to continue in that reality because it knows how to keep you safe, right? It knows well the version of you that feels unworthy. But the version of you that suddenly feels worthy, that suddenly feels lovable, that suddenly starts moving and thinking and talking and acting in different ways, they feel scary to the subconscious mind because it's suddenly outside of your comfort zone where there's a perceived threat, right? To the mind doesn't know what that's like. So that's where all the fear can kick in, and it's really easy to want to shrink and go back to how we were. Which is why it's so important that we can sit in this space of self-awareness and really reflect what's actually going on within me, what's actually coming up, without judging ourselves, right? Because we can't change ourselves if we're constantly shaming and judging ourselves. But when you understand that your mind is doing that all the time, you can you can just take off all this judgment off your shoulders and be like, okay, so I know that up until now I've had this program, I've had this belief, this story that wasn't even mine, didn't even come from me, it wasn't my fault. So the reason that these certain things happened in my life was because I had this belief that wasn't mine. So I forgive myself. I forgive myself for letting people disrespect me. I forgive myself for not stepping up in that situation. I forgive myself for the way that I treated other people. And now I choose to move in a new way, right? With this awareness comes power. It's so important, guys. It's so important. Honestly. So forgive yourself, all right? Forgive yourselves. All right. Number 4. Okay, we're going to put in the new, right? So now we have all this awareness. Yay. We've got all this self-forgiveness. Yay. Amazing. You've probably, if you've done it right, there's probably been a few tears if you're a crier like me. Or there's been some discomfort, some emotional stuff that's moved out, which is amazing, right? Amazing. I'm so proud of you for getting to this point. So now we're going to put in the new, right? We've become aware of the stuff that we don't want. And we're going to start with like self-love practices, right? Because again, when you've gone through this process of forgiveness, it's quite a transformational process because you start to see yourself as you actually are, not as you thought you were. Like you're seeing yourself without this filter of burden or not good enough or failure or I'm too old and I haven't achieved enough or, whatever. And you start seeing yourself as you actually were. And this is where the self-love comes in. And it's not like you're not faking it. You're not acting. It's genuinely how you feel. And it's really, really important to do is put in some serious self-love. And we've probably got a lot of making up to do, right? I know that I did. And I got so obsessed with self-care and self-love. And of course, the more that I sat with myself and explored my internal world and my beliefs, the more that I actually started to like myself. Like the more that I started to see how, the way that I moved in the world and the way that I treated people and the impact that I had on people. And, I actually really started, look, this makes me want to cry, but I actually really started to appreciate myself. And I know that in this world, we're not encouraged to do that. Like, we're really not. The world is much more comfortable with us shrinking ourselves and hating ourselves. But I went the opposite. And removing all the shit out of my system, I connected back to the truth of who I actually am. And I really started to like her. And so the more that I liked her, the more that I did, right? And this self-love, these self-love practices are going to look different for everyone. And that's the point. I'm not going to give you a list of things that you should do. I'll share some of the stuff that I do for myself. But ultimately, it's about you and your relationship with you. So the things that you love, that's what you should be doing. So for me, the first thing I do want to speak into is self-talk. Okay, so self-talk is, everything. Because, of course, okay, let's go back to the mind for a little bit. So the conscious mind is 5%, right? The subconscious mind is 95%. So the subconscious mind, though, think of it like when I was studying NLP, they talked about how the subconscious mind is called the goal getter, right? So it goes out to achieve whatever the conscious mind has programmed in. So the conscious mind is the goal setter. The conscious mind sets the goal, sets the direction, and the subconscious mind goes out to get it. So this matters because what we focus on expands, right? This is how this works. You've probably heard that saying before. So when we've decided, we choose ourselves, we love ourselves, we forgive ourselves, we accept ourselves right now, exactly as we are, and we're going to show up for ourselves. When you start appreciating yourself, you're going to find more things to appreciate. It's not this effort. It's not this I've got to work so hard to think of a single thing that I like. Now, when you start appreciating who you are and celebrating that, your mind is literally going to start filtering your reality to bring you more evidence of that, right? Because this is how your mind works. It is a giant filter, and it focuses where you tell it to go. So when you focus on, this is our time, self-forgiveness, self-love, like, I am beautiful, I am amazing, I'm so kind, I accept myself, I appreciate myself so much. Imagine if you started speaking to yourself like that. You looked in the mirror and you complimented yourself. At the end of every day, you praised yourself for something good that you did instead of pulling yourself apart. Do you know how quickly things would turn for you if you started doing this? Not if, when. You're going to start doing this. Okay? Because this is what's going to change everything. And so what happens is that then becomes your dominant way of thinking. So you're not going through life with all these heavy burdens on you anymore of feeling unworthy and not good enough and da-da-da-da. But your dominant focus is one of self-acceptance, one of self-love, one of self-appreciation. So when we link that back to the theme of this episode, how do you think that impacts your self-belief? When you have this foundation within yourself of self-acceptance, self-love, it is very easy to believe in yourself because that just becomes the way that you operate. You're not trying to believe in yourself because you don't. You genuinely love yourself, and it comes from the inside out, right? It flows out. So self-care practices. Okay, so for me, and these are really basic things, but I'm very in tune with myself, and I will check in every day, every single day, and be like, what do I most need today? So there are certain things that I will do all the time. Like every day I do some sort of meditation practice, some sort of spiritual practice to, connect me back to myself, connect me in with God. I do that every day, and I do some sort of mindset work every day. And that might be simply listening to one of my visualization tracks, or listening to a hypnosis, or doing something that's going to help me continue to build my internal world, right? Continue to love myself more, continue to move me towards my goals, my dreams. Those things happen every day. And I mean, you can do that from bed, even when you're exhausted, chuck your headphones in for 10 minutes. Like, it's not a big thing. But for me, that's a non-negotiable. But everything else, I will literally just check in with myself every single day and be like, okay, what do I most need today? So some days, like that's exercise, that's training. Like for those of you who follow me online, I'm learning hip hop dance at the moment, which is so fun. I have a big boxing bag at home, and I'll do circuit rounds on my boxing bag. Sometimes I'll just go out into nature for a walk. Other times I don't want to work out because I feel really tired, so I won't. I'll do something else, and it might be like I'm obsessed with baths right now, like Epsom salt baths, and just like make it as luxurious as possible. And there's something so nice, like I'll put on beautiful music, I'll light all my candles, bath bombs, salts, so nice, right? That feels so luxurious. But other things, like I'm a singer, so often that's something that will shift my state and my energy very quickly is to put on some music and sing. Like, that's actually something that is really important for my happiness, right? So these are little things, right? Like vitamin D, drinking enough water. Those things make me feel good. So these little things, they're important. Saying no when you mean it, right? And that's going to lead me into my final point, you guys. I honestly think that this is one of the biggest things, because who we let in our life is everything. And it's boundaries, baby. Number 5, okay? Thing is that if you can do all these things for yourself, you can do all the inner work, but if you still let gross people into your life and your energy, and you take on their, let's say you've gone deep and you've done all this work on yourself, but you're around people that haven't, And so they bring in all their negativity and their victim shit, and they make you feel bad. Well, it's not going to help you, is it? If you get sucked into their stuff, or if you then start internalizing their stuff. Why is this person treating me like this? I thought that I was worthy and deserving. Yeah, you are. But it's up to you to limit access to people, right? Like, what are you going to do now with your new self-belief, your new self-love? Because the version of you that truly loves and believes in yourself does not give average people access. And this might sound savage, but honestly, bestie, if you want real results in your life, you cannot be giving away your precious time and energy to average people. Because here's the thing, you become the people that you are around. So if you're looking around at people and they're average as, and they're, self-sabotaging all the time, they're always doing toxic things, they're drinking and partying all the time, they don't do the internal work, they have no self-awareness, they take no responsibility, they've got no vision for their life, they're just existing. Do you honestly want to be around people like that? No. So the next level for you is to ask yourself, why are you tolerating that? Because there's always a fear behind it. It's a fear of what's going to happen. If you were to move on that, what's the consequence? And I understand this. I've been here so many times, and it's actually got me to the point now where I'm very detached from people in my life, and I no longer make it about me. I just trust that the people that are for me will be there. And if people move out of my life, then it's like, okay, we weren't going to go all the way. But what's interesting is that the more that you invest in yourself and the more that you grow, like my coach said to me, because I used to get so hung up on this, because I'm quite a sensitive soul. And I said to him, oh my God, another friend is gone or they've disappeared. And he was, he's so savage. He's like, oh, just get over it. He's like, look, it's like, how many, he said, where do you think these people are going to be in 5 years' time? And I said, exactly in the same place. He said, yes. And do you know what? I can tell you guys this because I've been doing it for so many years. That is not wrong. Like, I look, all these people that just stop showing up, and I mean friends, like my best friends that I, the last interaction we had was like beautiful. It was like me showing up for them or, supporting them or whatever. And then they just gapped it. What the craziest thing is that they're all in the same place. None of them grew. I grew and they didn't. And that was where the gap came from. But I look back now and I'm like, oh, wow. And now my new friends are the most beautiful humans on earth. And they do this work with me. So the conversation is different. The being around people that will hold you accountable, lovingly, but will help you to grow instead of helping you to stay average, man, it makes such a difference. So boundaries, right? So that's it, you guys. Believing in yourself, a how-to guide. That's how we do it. It's not a toxic thing. It's not a Band-Aid. We're not going to pretend. We're actually going to heal our internal world in order to become that version of ourselves that truly loves and respects and honors ourselves. That's it. That's the one. That's what we're going to do. So you guys, let me know. Did this land for you? What are your aha moments? Send me a message. And I will see you in the next episode, my friends. Ciao for now. And that is a wrap. Thank you for showing up for yourself, for being here. And please let me know your aha moments. I want to hear all about them. For extra support, make sure you're following me on TikTok and Instagram at @TheMonicaFerguson. Check out the School of Greatness for self-study courses. And of course, if you want one-on-one mentoring, just DM me and I would love to have a chat with you. Go and slay the day. Thank you for being you. See you soon.